Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the rank 1 Terran in the world. In the blue, it's Clem. Facing off against arguably the best Protoss player out there. In the red, the smiling assassin, we have Hero. In a best of 5 Terran versus Protoss showdown between two of the most aggressive players in the world. Well known for maximizing that early engagement potential. And speaking of maximizing early engagement potential, it'd be incredible if you could smash that like button. Maybe even subscribe. Help me kind of the algorithm. Jimmy, what are we at? 1,711 likes on this video, on this cast. And I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. As Clem building a bunker right outside his own base. Playing it very safe to start things off. It's a little odd, not used to seeing Clem be the more conservative of the two players early on. Historically, at least in the recent past, and he struggled against Protoss. He's tried to lay on the early aggression. Try to get some damage before Warp Gate even finishes, because once they blink, you'll miss your opportunity. And, well, that does not seem to be the case here. A 1-Rax expand with an SCV scout. What one might call standard if they were playing on the ladder. But of course, Clem kind of redefines that when it comes to Protoss and Terran versus Protoss. Starport on the way. The bulwark of buildings to kind of box out any blink stalkers that try to intrude. And Hero went for the Reaper wall, but Clem did not oblige. The Adept sniffing with its ethereal nose on anything it can see, and I'm not sure it even has vision. Yeah, does he complete the shade? No. The shade, of course, a bit more in the dark. It can't actually see the factory behind this, which is quite relevant. Hero not going for the early sentry. This is not on the new patch. We don't even know what the new patch is yet, just to be clear. You'll know. From the new, you'll know. Believe me. Just FYI. No changes to energy recharge, but Hero not one so interested in it. The usual methodology is you build a sentry behind the first unit. You slap 100 energy in there, you throw a hallucinated Phoenix across the map, you see everything that Terran can be doing. But Hero? Well, the map is dark. And full of Terrans. And little does he know, oh no! The first Adept gunned down at the front. And what little vision Hero had. Hero's actually going for a blink timing. And his blink is obscenely quick. Oh my. At right around 420 as the medevac blazes its way into the natural. Blink is completed, but a couple, well, I was gonna say a couple seconds too late. 6 probes dead. The splash damage, and he just cancels a gas geyser. Hero suffering some damage, and the medevac is boosting its way back home. So, even though it was diffused quickly, Hero sunk all his chrono boost into the quickest possible blink timing, because of course he did. Now we'll see if he ends up blinking with both eyes before he heads up into the main. Clem obviously knows the threat right now. He's got a siege tank in the main, he's got the bunker at the natural. The second siege tank is not quite. That's a lot of stalkers. He comes in, knocks out the medevac immediately. Will get a blink back the stalkers with the prism. And oh my, Hero. Just absolutely no hesitation. But on the other side, the Raven gonna create quite a problem with the auto turrets. Already, Hero's economy is mediocre. Blocks right past into the siege tanks yet again, but there's one on the high ground. The SCVs are pulled, the bunker is holding, and a lot of damage being dealt. I don't know if there's enough stalkers to deal with this. The bunker holds. The Marines are pulled off the line. The boys right at the front, and Hero desperately trying to get the damage done. 11 SCVs dead, filing through the mineral line, and suddenly Clem starting to dwindle heavily in supply. Hero, it's a very fine line between a perfect attack and going far too deep. And that last siege tank hit, taking out a couple more stalkers. Wow, in the last minute, 9 stalkers, 18 SCVs, 3 zealots as well, I guess. They were warped in alongside the fight. Hero manages to claw back the worker lead and back into the main. No hesitation. Blinks and jumps immediately, and he knocks out combat shield. Clem actually started that a little bit later. Hero might have thought it was Stim. If it was, that would have been absolutely devastating. But Stim completes. The Marines, Lego stub toe away from death, or a Zealot chop as well. The Viking is on the ground. The Warp Prism manages to get some of this out. Auto turret on the other side. There and back again, a Raven store. The Raven came back to help defend after killing the probes and is now back at Hero's base. And now Hero is expanding to the base that's blocked by the rocks down the center. There's a gold base that you can expand, but you have to clear out the rocks, which have almost as much HP as a regular set. So not the easiest process, but Hero's not been known to do things. Well, there's one thing you can say for Hero, and you can say a lot more than that, but he never half-asses it. He puts it all on the line, for better or for worse. And if he had been even a split second more hesitant with those stalkers, the damage would not have been done. Even now, Clem exploiting the fact that Hero is, well, he has to get aggressive against the rocks so he can mine from the gold. Yes, he spotted it with the Raven on his way around. Some Tacta boys are pulled. There's an observer very deep all the way back. I don't think Clem realized that this was spotted. But we are on Sandworm, one of our community maps, where the sand spires down the center have a tendency to make things quite difficult for everyone involved, but Clem circumvents it with the medevac. The Nexus is under fire, and there's no splash damage with this army. The Stalkers are not going to be enough. Meanwhile, Hero goes for the base trade. Charge is not quite done, but will be momentarily. The Viking needs one more hit, knocks out the Warp Prism. Charge launch right on top of the SCVs. And SCVs right on top of the pylon. Oh no, the SCVs were caught behind. The Stalkers blink forward, right into the Terran army. A masterful bait by the Frenchman. 12 SCVs dead on the other side. The Stalkers annihilated. Go tell your friends what happened here. Yeah, you're Protoss, you have friends, right? Sorry. Meanwhile, the Raven. 13 probes, I assume probes dead so far. Gets tapped on the shoulder. I guess metaphorically by some of the Stalkers, but the siege tank. Immortals try to take a shot, but instead gonna take some concussive shells from the Marauders. The force fields make sure everyone's nice and cozy as the Marines and Marauders continue to fire over the top. Hero engaging directly. He needs to stop this before it gets any closer, but I don't know if he actually has the units to do so. Another Widow Mine softens up even more. The Raven comes back around, and the auto turrets helping to add. Now the Marauders are taking so much damage. The Stalkers may be able to pick some of them off. Medevac desperately healing, completely out of energy, targeting down. The Observer came back across. Hero. It's a fine line. Clem microing Marauders with his medevac, dodging the Stalker shots, and I think trying to take the gold was a bridge or two too far. Some more emotional support fields out there. Templar Archives is on the way, 10 minutes in, and we're not even close to 100 supply, as both sides have battered one another. And, well, the unit compositions and the economy go to Clem. He's building a third command center. He still has potential. Did the Raven finally die? It did. That Widow Mine. Retargeting, recalculating. Clem retargeting the mine. Oh, come on. Ooh, that could have been even worse, but he still gets a Zealot or two. The Templar Archives is spotted as well. Storm has begun. And if it completes, as we all well know, an existential threat to the Terrans. But the fact remains, Clem already has medevacs, he has production. He got most of those SCVs that are veterans actually made it back home to the mineral mines to live out their lives, at least until some charge lots sneak by. So, Hero's bold move to go for the gold may cost him. Storm halfway there, the Templar. Again, the force fields are... Oh, that's it. That's the whole sentence. Meanwhile, a couple charge slots, 6 SCVs dead. Just, it's so close. There's so few units on the field. It's so rare. This is like Wings of Liberty supplies. The Storm! He knew it was an opportunity, a possibility. And finally, it's come to fruition, but the Widowmines in turn softening up the Immortals. The Storms, he almost kills his own Immortal with Storm. But the Stalkers blink forward and Hero turns it around again. Knocks a medevac out of the sky. He has the Observer to spot for it. And suddenly Clem is behind in supply. He's got 4 medevacs, 6 Marauders, and 3 Marines. All right, he's looking at a medevacs for all policy right now. He doesn't have nearly enough bio units, but Hero has barely any gateway units himself. They drop towards the main, but Hero spotted it with the Observer, which has still evaded detection, somewhat ironically. More Widowmines down the center. The Stalker's dueling it out in the Sand Spires. He spots the Observer, takes it out. He knows he was spotted. There's no other reason. A Scouting Immortal is knocked out. Clem has +1/+1. I don't even think Hero has a Forge. The Stalkers get put in the corner and put down. The Storms hit more Zealots than they do Bio. Hero dwindling. He still has a couple Storms at the back, but the Ghosts are now on the field. Clem got Ghosts so early in the grand scheme of things here. One of the most intense. It's still early game. Like, oh no, the Archon! Is it stuck? Oh, help me, Step Prism! Oh, my voice. The Archon is stuck. He merged an Archon in the Sand Spires. It will have to watch as the rest of the Protoss try to whittle... Oh, it's so sad. Oh, the Prism! What a save. Catches it around the corner. I didn't actually realize he had a Prism, but you know what? That makes it so much better. Hero somehow manages to save the Archon that trapped itself. But 120 to 90 supply. The bio upgrades are starting to come through, and the fact he has so many ghosts, he can pre-MP. The Warp Prism just knocks it down with the Templar inside. It's a disaster. The last Immortal is knocked out. Hero has fought Metaphorical Tooth and much more Literal Nail. And honestly, for a few moments, Clem looked flabbergasted, dumbstruck, taken aback. But he was able to push forward every time. He was looking past that first engagement and the next one to what he needed later on. Hero is more of a... he sees the moment. So many of them. But eventually, the lack of upgrades, the lack of economy, they caught up with him. And it was just too much. What a... Well, it's Clem versus Hero. I'm whelmed by that game. That is exactly what I wanted, what I expected, but I wasn't sure we would get. This is for the Maestros of the Game playoffs. The top 4 will be heading to Paris on September 27th of 2025, which, if you're watching this very early on, it's coming up, I believe, Saturday. And if you're watching this later, well, make sure to check out the highlights right here or on Comeback TV, the French organization. I feel like, from the games I've seen so far, there's an extra fire for Clem. The home field advantage. The French community is so supportive. They were able to put together this tournament, and they got so much support, they decided to do an offline in-person finals, which is so much more, effort and coordination and cooler than, you know, another online tournament. I say somewhat hypocritically. So, and Clem is, of course, the not only the best French player, arguably sometimes the best player in the world. And I think he really wants this one. Engineering bay block. Hero pulls probes. There's a few different philosophies to deal with this. This is widely considered to be a dick move in most cultures. But that's never stopped the Terrans before. The NG bay block, many players will just take a third. Or they'll get a zealot. Hero pulls the probes, which feels like a very hero response. It really depends on how early you're able to block it, or stop the block, counter block, unblock. Oh my, okay. If you're able to stop it from getting more than like a third of the HP, then pulling the probes, I think, is a real option. If it gets past that point, you lose so much mining time, it's made it worth it. Of course, it cuts into the early Terran build. It's not free to build an engineering bay at their natural. And the reason you choose an engineering bay is because when you pull a building out of your multi-dimensional backpack and slap down the construction of it, it has about 10%, I think exactly 10% HP. And engineering bays have the highest HP to cost ratio. And they build the quickest, so, like compared to a barracks. Wow. It wasn't until the Stalker came up, Clem actively denying any scouting. He does have the expansion in the high ground, but he's denied anything past seeing the early reactor. Once again, very specifically putting that factory where he can help use it to zone out Blink Stalkers, but also not be scouted unless there's a very concerted effort or Clem makes a mistake. Knowing there's a factory at all, occasionally you'll get the bio builds, but just knowing there's a factory at all is a lot of information for Hero, let alone if you see he has a tech lab or something. So that's what Clem is trying to avoid right now. Man, using the probe, I think, maybe trying to bait out a Widowmine hit, any amount of volleys as well. 3 Stalkers doing what they do best. Stalking into... Oh, but the Cyclone! Daddy's home. And he's locked on. I don't... Yeah. Jimmy, edit that out. I don't know. Blink is on the way. Much less focused on it. That was like the fastest blink while still expanding I've seen. Maybe ever. Hero sinking all of his chrono into blink. Whereas here, this is a much more typical macro blink timing. Chasing with the medevac. It's raining men and down goes one of the Stalkers. The Cyclone almost taken out, but it can be repaired in much the same way Protoss units cannot. Also, forgive me for my voice. I think I'm getting sick. I hope. I'm just so passionate that I'm feeling a little under the weather. Maybe it's all those storms on the PTR. But, we'll see. Either way. We'll go with the sultry tones and hope I don't ruin it too much. Moving on. Hopefully. Liberator. Clem clearly angling for some early aggression here. No stim, no combat shield. Just Marines and Cyclones living in the moment. And a Liberator to try to exploit the fact the Stalkers are likely going to be out of position, especially if Clem's able to put on enough pressure. This is an anti-third base timing. If Hero takes a third and tries to defend it, he very likely will lose either the base or the Stalkers. But the Observer spots it. He's going to fight directly, blinks back, has a shield battery. There's a Templar Archives halfway done. The Liberator just going to liberate the entire Nexus. A zone of freedom. And putting those probes out of their misery and right into the unit's lost tab. Gets 4 of them. Recall several Stalkers. Meanwhile, scan up to the high ground. The Stalkers were able to pick off at least some of the Marines, but both of the Cyclones and the Siege tanks survive. But Observers just chasing targets down 3-4 more Marines. Spreading out the damage a bit. Hero, so decisive with those blink stalkers. You do not get... And he chases, doesn't want to go too close to where siege tanks can potentially be, but most of the Marines caught on the way out. And that is the reason. If you're going to move out early, you need either some support or stim. Because otherwise the blink stalkers will kite you all the way towards their base and chase you all the way home. I mean, it's in the name. Cyclones lock on and knock out an observer. The other observer takes a second to pay its respects and then realizes that maybe it should try something different. Storm is halfway done. Hero, despite the tumultuous start, didn't really end up losing much more than those first few probes. And he has the third base nearly completed. Charge and Storm on the way. Warp Prism is nearing it as well. With the Warp Prism and the Templar, Clem, does he pull the boys? I don't think so. Yeah, 2 more racks on the way. Doesn't look like he's intending an all-in timing, just trying to put some pressure on the third. And Charge is not done yet. The gateways are just now coming online. Liberator trying to drag the stalkers out of position. The Warp Prism, so important. Hero, don't, please, Hero. Not this time, don't. The Storm on the uncombat shielded Marines, doing terrible, terrible damage. But was it enough? The Bio Army's moving forward. 9 Stalkers, an Immortal, and a few Templar. Keeps the Templar alive. Takes out the Pylon on Pylon. The only one at this base. The Storms are good. And Archon off to the side. The siege tanks might be enraged. Concussive Shells pushes the Archons towards the tanks. The Archons are straight up not having a good time this series so far. Putting on a lot of weight since their days as Templar. Hey, all right. Merging gets all of us. The Liberator is still alive and finding some more probe kills. Chases down. Archon almost stripped of its shields. The HP is barely there. Siege tank hit obliterates it. 4 probes dead. Finally, the Stalkers clear up the Liberator. But Clem has ground out a 30 supply lead, even with the newest weapon from Hero. And he has plenty of workers behind. It's going from bad to significantly worse, but he blasts his way through the siege tanks with the Immortals. Charge lots taken out. Archons drop back. And again, Clem's dancing on the ramp. Going to retake the watchtower. Hero, it's not great. Widowmine, thankfully the Zealot will charge into glorious battle and make sure the splash damage is minimized. Retargeting, recalculating. Clem retargeting the Widowmine so it doesn't fire, and then Hero blinks out of it. Hero blinks back with the Prism. The Marauders, not too many Marines behind it. Marauders are very good, but the Marines are where the real DPS is. 1 Storm, juggles back. Clem actually has such a 14 higher worker supply, which means the army supplies are relatively close to even. Does Hero have a forge? Again, Hero does not have a forge, and he's going to be down double upgrades. Upgrades aren't as critical in this matchup, but 2 upgrade advantage for Clem, who also has plenty of bio in the field. Those Storms are going to have to carry a whole lot of weight. Trying to chase down the Stalkers. They scamper away. The whole oh, the Widowmine! Where did that even come from? Meanwhile, charge lots in the main. The Ghost knocks the Prism out of the sky. EMP to soften it up. And the shots to knock it out. Might even be... Special operative, right? Solo operative? I don't know what the line is. Also, it's kind of dumb to be a solo operative, but... Bring some medevacs. Templar sniped from the energy bridge. The charge lots into the mineral line, but the Bio Army stims up and guns down a whole chunk of them. Wades through the Storms, even more of them, but the medevacs are still doing plenty of work here. Hero under 100 supply. Another set of Storms across the bow. But the EMP is softening everything up. Lines up the... Oh. 9 SCVs dead. But Hero's entire army has evaporated. It's a disaster. His best chance was backing Clem up against his own mineral line, maximizing the potential of the storms and the chances for the charge launch to get damage done. It wasn't enough. The charge launch will be chased down. The Templar were easily dispatched. More warped in, as they do. The first forge, but Clem's up 50 supply. Hero in a very dramatic death animation right now. Some of the bio, not sure how intentionally flanking around the back, but the ghost count sniping charge lots. Storms, but a beautiful spread. I can't believe it's not butter. A 360 surround. Warp Prism comes in, Warp Prism goes out. You can't explain that. And Hero isn't done yet. He knows the best chance now for this series is for Clem to get super tilted that Hero isn't leaving the game and using that as a basis for the next one. It's actually worked before, with Clem clearly getting frustrated. I don't think it's gonna work now. But he fights till the bitter end. The storms making most of the ground uncomfortable. The Immortals take it out, and Clem, with a solid game 2, goes straight up to match point. I think he wants it. All right. Hero unable to really get any counter aggression. He beat down Clem's early attack, but it came at the cost of his own economy. A single Liberator, relatively cheap in the grand scheme of things, was able to undercut any efforts Hero made. Because Hero didn't kill any SCVs. So, and he has a tendency to be a little light on the probes, which allows Clem to catch up and surpass him relatively easily. Alright, Tokamak. But so far, the storms, my hotkeys got messed up. Hero, ready to go. Not sure what. I'll be using them now. SCV coming in from the NG Bay block. I mean, I think it falls into the don't try this at home category. It can work, but Clem, the way Clem uses it. Now, the probe came down immediately. It was looking for exactly this. More probes. All right, the neighborhood watch. Gonna get the full surround on the NG Bay. Will Clem come back in and try to get... I think Hero will end up canceling the Zealot, but we'll see. And if he doesn't, well, this could turn into something a little spicier. Ends up building a Zealot. He knows the SCV isn't here. This will not be scouted. Clem did not come up the ramp to see whether the gateway was building. Now, a dude walking, or Protoss warrior, stoically trundling across the map with melee laser swords should not be a threat to a Terran who's able to wall off. Something the Protoss clearly can't comprehend. But it could potentially delay the command center, and pretty much do to Clem what he was trying to do to Hero. That would be best case. Oh, and he's building a reactor behind. That means no more Marines. It's just going to be SCVs, and things are going to get weird. Okay, the Reaper comes in, just going to target probes. The Zealot. Already has 1 kill. Gonna slap the SCV. Delays the command center. Stalker comes out. The Reaper will very likely die, but at least the Stalker isn't coming across the map. The Adept follows it up. And now the command... How are you still alive? What the... Well, the Reaper lived and is going to come back home to help the defense. A couple Marines on the way. Oh, just finished up. The Zealot slicing at him. And, well, the SCV trying to come home and... I got a job to do, okay? We don't actually get paid overtime. Meanwhile, though, 2 Stalkers did not send an SCV to the bunker quickly enough. The Stalker should be able to delay it a little bit further. More Marines on the way. Dancing with the Hellion. And actually, the Reaper, combined with the Hellion, combined with pretty much any early game unit, will be enough for Clem to drive this back. So, Hero, a severe delay on the command center. What's the total damage? A smorgasbord of Protoss units. Picks off the Reaper finally. What a unceremonious death. But the Stalkers will escape and unlikely to be taken out now. Hero, I think, correctly realizing that he's pretty much completely safe, at least for the near future. He should be able to get away with the 3rd base, and he drops it down at the 6 o'clock. Blink is on the way, but Clem is going for Cloak Banshees. A bit of a gamble. Definitely something very interested in taking back the initiative here. In the not small chance that Hero either doesn't build an observer, that's not the case, or he just sends the first observer across the map, then the Banshee can get a lot of damage. And even if the observer is back at home, of course, the terrestrially bound Stalker, they walk on the ground. Okay, they can't fly. A major weakness. Maybe even a design flaw. God knows a struggle. A 3rd Banshee on the way for Clem. He's getting a lot of Is this hyper flight, not hyper speed patch note writer, hyper flight rotors on the way. Banshee speed. I don't know if this is a good idea, but it's a great idea. The upgrade, once again, this is not the new patch where the upgrade is significantly quicker, but this makes Banshees almost impossible to catch. You can only deflect them. Now, Banshees are not the most tanky units. They don't have the most HP. They're not hard to take down if you're in position. But that's the hard part. 2 more factories on the way. Clem is taking us to McDonald's with a spicy McPlant. I don't know if this was the plan from the start or if he's decided to just give it a shot this game, but yeah. And the shots. Hero actually sieged up, went into surveillance mode with the observer, which gave him a bit of extra vision for a second. But when the projectiles go off and then they lose vision of their target, somehow they don't connect. The same is not true for splash damage, but he's going Hell Clone Banshee? What in the Terran versus Zerg build? Well, that's certainly an idea. Now, if Clem can survive to get all of this tech online, that's the biggest sticking point with mech is the infrastructure cost. The sheer amount of gas it takes to get your factories and get all these upgrades. But a bunker's on the way. He's got a few zealots. The 4 Banshees back at home actually could make things quite complicated. Scans, there's no observers here. No, okay, there's an observer off to the left side. It's clear here. But the Banshee's still doing a lot of damage. Easily underestimated, as they're rarely used as an outright fighting unit. He takes out the observer, And now the Banshees can chase the Stalkers all the way home. Clem takes the supply lead. 58 to 59 workers. Simply sniping off the Observer and swinging in with the Banshees. It's not a very direct tactic, but it works. And if Hero makes him, there's another Observer nearby. Clem doesn't have many tanks to fall back to. Hellbat's on the way. No blue flame, which would be quite helpful against the charge lots. Hero found a gold base, and he's taking it. This one also has rocks you can drop, but I think it'll work out. 2 more factories on the way, but here comes Hero. Just a bunch of Stalkers and charge lots, and there aren't that many tanks here. Blinks in, knocks out 1, 2 tanks. The Banshees are fighting directly. The Observer needs to be taken down. The Cyclone's struggling to do so. They were locked on to other units. The Banshees are almost out of energy. He's relying on these Banshees as an invisible strike force. I remember the discussions about DTs versus Banshees and them being flying DTs back in Wings of Liberty. This was a real point of contention. All right. Now, well, unfortunately for the Banshees, they're out of energy, which means direct confrontation is seemingly inevitable. Clem still keeping his supply competitive, though Hero now has the gold base mining. The charge lots coming in, the boys are pulled, the Stalkers blink around. A scan looking for the Observer, but he can't spare the time to take it out. And Clem never able to stabilize. He never got the fight where he just chased the army back across the map. He never got that decisive engagement where he can kind of reset the feeling of the game. The Banshees were, I think he was tilted from the early command center game. That's the value of building the Zealot. All right. Clem just swerving his build, taking it off the highway over to McDonald's. And, well, it was fun. Maybe not healthy. 2-1. Heroes on the board. And so it begins. We're going to Gresvin. The map pool is unique. It's not just the ladder map pool. Gresvin, actually one of our older maps, was quite popular a few years ago. Definitely not like a spicy. I think Golden Wall is also in the tournament map pool. So some of the highlight favorites from different eras. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not sure which one it is for Hero. I'm never quite sure. I don't think you can read too much into that game. Like, that is not something you can easily replicate if you're Hero. But then again, I don't know if there's any strategy he can easily replicate. Part of the reason Hero is so good is some of the ways you might describe him as bad. Like that very decisive blink, that ignorance of common wisdom, like getting upgrades or keeping your probes alive. And now for the first time, he's going to expand to the 3rd instead of trying to take out the NG Bay block. In fact, he didn't even send a probe down to potentially intercept it. Interesting. And Clem's SCV. Big job, huh? Well, cancels the NG Bay the moment he spots the Nexus. It served its purpose of putting Hero in a much more vulnerable position. Much like how Protoss like to block, or at least delay the hatchery for Zerg, in order to potentially exploit the distance between bases. Pretty much exactly the same thing for Terran. Probe even gets taken out. Good stutter step on the Marines. Twilight Council. What's it going to be? Command center is on the way for Clem. He's actually walling the inside of his base. Wow, the main base is huge. All right, they obviously modeled this one after your mother. There's so much space. Usually you have, like, this is the zoomed out screen that I wish we could play with, but like, this is the normal screen size. The main base, you can't even see the edge of it. Wow. Kind of forgot about that. Rarely is a main base quite so voluminous. Yeah, well, that's what we're going with. That means a lot of opportunity to do blink drops. It's generally better for offense than defense. For things like early attacks that want to get a beachhead or a staging area, as opposed to just having more space to slap your gateways and buildings down. Though it may feel a bit less restricting. But in the later game, it's more convenient, but in the early game, it's a point of contention. Maybe several points. Look at the size of that thing. Clem drops down the command center. It's going to be a 3 racks. Ye old Marine tank timing. Just stim. I think he pulls the boys with this, right? Like, he has to. There's absolutely no other tech. Well, has not begun a starport. No engineering bay. For the first time, Hero actually goes... Now that's what's been lacking as well. Hero, for the first time, going for the Sentry Scout with Hallucinated Phoenix. And then realizing that, oh, he doesn't have a starport. He's just going to attack me directly. I need to get out there with the Blink Stalkers. And that is the case, indeed. Part of the reason you don't usually do exactly this is because Blink Stalkers will kite you to the literal ends of the Earth, which is the other side of the map, which really isn't that far, but it's far enough, usually. The siege tank on the high ground. An obvious move, but still, Hero takes a lot of damage. Combat shield and stim on the way. The medevacs or starport still a long way off. Stalkers sneaking around. Charge is the choice. Hero slapping down a few more gates, not even building probes, making sure he has enough units to crush this. This is all about hitting the strongest possible timing for Clem. He was thinking about moving out early, but now he's kind of pulled back into the more standard 3 racks with medevacs. Robo Bay is the choice for Hero. Gonna go for Colosser, maybe even Disruptors. Hallucinated Phoenix gets in, sees the reactored starport, which is enough of a tell. Clem actually still building SCVs, so I think he's abandoned the idea of a straight-up all-in in favor of kind of just playing it out. A Forge on the way, the Robo Bay. But right at that moment, the triple threat is done. Well, he's got stim, he's got combat shield, and he's working. He's well on the way to +1. The charge lots, he felt a disturbance. Sent out a Marine. That Marine was eviscerated, but outside the base where he could let the boy watch. Hero's 10 years older than you. Let the boy... Bullying the Carrick around here. We'll see if Carrick is burning by the end. Siege tanks in the center of the map. The mini-map is a bit of a mess, with Hero's units rotating around trying to catch Clem out of position. The medevacs will be spotty. Loses 1. Almost a second, but who's flanking who? Gets 1, gets 2, gets 3 stalkers for 1 medevac, which still a tough trade, but I don't think Clem can be too unhappy with that. And now suddenly a lot of bio on the way across. The extended thermal lance is on the way. Sometimes it takes a while to warm up. And only a single Colossus with the army. The charge lots, so many charge lots are split off. He's really trusting in this Colossus. Oh, it's not a super pylon. He finishes up the gate, though. Oh, he needs those zealots back at home. Hero committed all of his zealots to the other side of the map. He needs them. He underestimated the sheer girth of this bio ball. And now Clem disrespectfully running straight past. Just stimming his way through. And now going to use the Protoss base against Hero. The charge lots come in. Immediately cut down by Widow Mines and bio. Evaporated. Is there a robo down there? Oh no. It's a disaster. The Clempire strikes back. A single game of some cheeky mech plays after a delayed command center. But otherwise, all Clem, all the time. Clem moving forward. And with a very good shot of being in the top 4. And maybe even, honestly, I think he's the favorite to take home the Maestros of the Game Championship on September 27th of 2025. Or on your favorite channels afterwards. But looking like he figured out at least some of Protoss versus Terran. Of course, Hero, not, well, medium where he is. He, with the early aggression, but this time around, Clem got the better end of it. But hopefully you enjoyed as much as I did. Thank you for watching. I hope it made your day a little bit better. Might be a couple days till the next cast because of my voice. And I'm hoping that's all it is. TBD. We'll see. But either way, like and subscribe. If you got the means of motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But thank you for watching. Good luck. Have fun. I'll see you next time. Stay chill. Jimmy, play the thing.